we continue to move forward with our journey. Ida B. Wells Barnett once said that the way to address injustices is to turn the light of truth upon them. I can't think of anybody better to talk about and to highlight for us about how we take truth to power. So I'm going to bring forward my friend, Dr. Maybach, who's going to walk us through some things. And as he's coming up, I'm reminded of my grandmother's words when she says that you have power unless you give it away. So now I'm going to turn the mic over to you.
You are sharing your power with me, and I want to share mine with all of you because, well, first of all, let's see, any non-health professionals here? All right, we're just well, all right, you qualify. You're an honorary, so you're both honorary. So at any rate, bam. All right. For all of us health professionals, we know that when we go to conferences, medical conferences, public health conferences, we're asked to disclose our conflicts of interest. And usually it's sort of a pro forma activity. No, I have no conflicts of interest to disclose, but I've been thinking about this. I actually do have conflicts of interest to disclose. I have worked really hard to decarbonize my life to the extent possible. The trip to Dubai probably blew through my carbon budget for the next 10 years of my life, but it was worth it in order to accomplish what we are jointly accomplishing here this week. But I've gone beyond that. I've also divested my savings completely from supporting the fossil fuel industry. And I'm all in on accelerating the transition to clean renewable energy. And I do so at work and through my work. Okay, so those are my conflicts. If they cast doubt upon my judgment, so be it. I leave it to you to decide that. This is the happiest story that I know, the most hopeful story that I know. It's the story of 7 Soviet and American physicians, 6 of whom are no longer with us. But in 1980, they got together, they reached across through the Iron Curtain, and they said, we need to work together to avert nuclear war. And they formed a group, the IPPNW, that's the International Physicians for the Prevention of Nuclear War. And their message to the world was incredibly simple. Their message was that a nuclear war would destroy civilization and might extinguish human life. That was their message to the world, but they really were only speaking to 2 people, Ronald Reagan and Mikhail Gorbachev, because those were the 2 people who had their hands on the lever to do something that would de-escalate the world from the brink of nuclear war by putting in place a nuclear arms treaty. These 7 men and the others who they attracted to their cause over the next 5 years, they won the Nobel Peace Prize in 1985. I like to say that's nice, but it doesn't change the world. But they did, in fact, change the world. I'm going to do something I've never done before. I want you to all close your eyes, because I'm going to read you some words from Mikhail Gorbachev's autobiography published in 1987. The book was called Perestroika, and Mikhail Gorbachev said, their work commands great respect, for what they say and what they do is prompted by an accurate knowledge and a passionate desire to warn humanity about the dangers looming over it. In light of their arguments and the strictly scientific data they possess, there seems to be no room left for politicking, and no serious politician has the right to disregard their conclusions. 5 years later, you can open your eyes again. Thank you for closing your eyes. That was lovely. 5 years later, he's such a classy guy. He wrote a thank you note to the head of IPPNW, and he said, I want to thank you for your great contribution to preventing nuclear war. Without it and other effective anti-nuclear initiatives like this, this treaty would have probably been impossible. 7 people got together across a national border that was blockaded in the most profound sense, and they changed the world. They made the impossible possible. If ever there was a more hopeful story, I would like to know it. We, as health professionals, we have the ability, perhaps a unique ability, to speak truth to power because we are trusted. Those 7 physicians were trusted. They changed the world. We are trusted. We are living in an age totally different from the age in which they affected their intervention, but yet we are still the most trusted voices. This is data from Ipsos. It was a poll conducted in 28 countries with 22,000 participants. This is the average across all of those countries. Bam, we are the most trusted. And that is our superpower. And if we, like Mustafa's grandmother said, if we don't use our superpower, we're frittering it away. We're giving our power away. And this is the message that I am carrying to the world. This is the message that I want all of you to carry to the world. This is the message that I want all of you to teach every other health professional that you know to carry to the world. It is a simple message, it is a clear message, but it gets right to the heart of what we need to do, of what our problem is, and what we need to do as a result of this problem. And that is that our health and our climate have a common enemy. And that common enemy is fossil fuels. We have other common enemies, but this is common enemy number one. This is the one that we have to set our sights on and never avert our gaze and never pull our punches, because the odds, I believe I read in the newspaper today that there are 1,300 fossil fuel lobbyists among us here at COP. I don't know how many health professionals there are. I know, thanks to Jenny Rankin and her wonderful colleagues at the Climate and Health Foundation, there are many more of us here than there have ever been here before, but we still have to, and we are, of course, vastly more trusted than fossil fuel lobbyists, but they have something, they have many other resources that they are bringing to this battle. We have to marshal our resources, lock arms, lean in, and use that trust that we have earned and that we continue to earn to try to make this point in an unflinching manner. A couple of days ago in the Pavilion One Over, the WHO Pavilion, we released a new research report. The Wellcome Trust asked my team to summarize the world's literature since 2000, January 2000 until July of this year, we found every paper that had ever been published on sort of a constellation of questions. What does the public know about climate change as a health issue? What do health professionals know about climate change as a health issue? For health professionals who understand that climate change is relevant to human health, are they willing to play a role in educating the public and policymakers about climate change as a health issue? And then finally, when they do, if they do, and when they do, does it make a difference? And the answer is the public understands very little about the health relevance of climate change. Health professionals in every country where it's been studied in large numbers, they're on board. They understand. They have not been dupes to the fossil fuel industry. They understand the dangers, the health dangers of climate change, and they want to roll up their sleeves and play a role. So we have lots of colleagues in countries around the world who want to link arms with us and lean in like IPPNW did. And then finally, the last point is, if they do, will it make a difference? And the answer to that question is unequivocally, yes, it makes a difference. When we use our trusted voices to talk about climate change as a health issue, how it harms our health, and how climate action benefits our health, and not just in the future, but now, here, in our community, it makes a profound difference, and something magical happens. Our conservative brothers and sisters, for the first time, start thinking about the issue, an issue that they had long since closed out of mind, had no interest in hearing anything about it or learning anything about it. So how do we do that? Well, firstly, we have to tell people a little bit about how climate harms health, because people don't know. And we've done research on how you do it. It's pretty simple. Climate harms health in at least 8 different pathways. In my last meeting earlier today, I was with I was with 8 staffers of US senators. And when I told those staffers that we didn't have a full accounting of the health harms, both the early death and the avoidable morbidity, the premature mortality, avoidable morbidity from these 8 pathways, their jaws hit the table. They could not believe. These are staffers of US senators who had no idea that A, climate change harmed health through these 8 pathways, or B, that we don't even know how much harm is caused. So that was a really meaningful takeaway for them. Both points, but in their case, they're in a great position to do something about it. It's also helpful to tell people who explain that we are all at risk, but some of us are at greater risk than others. So our children, our elders, people who earn their livelihoods outdoors, pregnant women, anybody else I've left off that list. Some of us are members of low income and communities of color. These are the communities and the individuals who are at greater risk. And that information is helpful to people because people don't know that. And here's the beauty of it. When we make the effort to explain that to them, it changes them. For the first time, they start to see climate change as personally relevant in ways they hadn't seen so before. And our research shows that those changes, that cognitive and affective engagement that this information creates, it stays. It lasts for people for as long as 3 weeks, and that's as long as we've tested it. But one of the sort of the principles of effective communication is you have to say it and say it again and say it again and say it again and say it again until you're absolutely sick of saying it, because that's when your audience is hearing it for the first time. So we know that this information about how climate change harms health is impactful. It raises the sense of personal relevance in the issue, but we can't just say it once. We need to merge all of our trusted voices to create many opportunities to repeat this important information. The second important part of what we have to tell people, knowledge that we have that we need to share with people, is that health solutions are climate solutions. And that's true. What I just said is true, but what I meant to say is that climate solutions are health solutions. And the important part of turning it on its head like that, talking about climate solutions as health solutions, is the climate benefits occur decades in the future, and they occur a little bit in communities around the planet. But the health benefits of climate solutions, they occur almost immediately, and they occur in the communities that take the actions. George, I know George, you are here. George Thurston was showing me after our meeting with Senate staffers this incredibly impressive data that he has published, showing that I've forgotten the health outcome, doesn't matter. Bad health outcomes dropped 40% virtually immediately after shutting down a coal coking plant, correct? 40% almost overnight, and the declines continue to drop for many weeks and months there and years thereafter. So the health benefits of climate solutions, they're local, they're immediate, and they mean something to us. We value them. So this is what we have learned, and this is what I've been teaching fellow health professionals about the optimal way to make the case that climate change is relevant to our health. We have to teach people about the risks. We have to talk about the benefits and about the solutions. And it's best to talk about policy level solutions, community level solutions, not individual level solutions. When we tell people that you can change your behavior, you can eat less meat, you can eat real foods, not too much, mostly plants. That's certainly great for their health. It's also great for the climate. But what people really want to hear and what they respond best to is how we can take community action or state action or federal action that will help all of us do those things. And then finally, we know that it's helpful to invoke the social norm. The fact that most of us feel that we're in the minority, that we care deeply, but we feel we don't. And that's a very deeply isolating, alienating feeling when we care and we think others don't. Our polling data shows really clearly that the majority do care, and when we make an effort to help people understand they're in the majority, it frees them up. It makes them feel more bold. It makes them more likely to lean in and lock arms with their neighbors to demand community solutions. So until recently, we thought these were sort of the 3 parts of the equation of the optimal climate health message. But more recently, we found there's a 4th part. And I've already used the 4th part in part. I am calling out the 1,200, 1,300 fossil fuel lobbyists, and however many fossil fuel CEOs are here with us at COP. They do not belong here. They are here to continue to make money at the expense of our health. And we did research. Most health professionals were very polite, were very civil. Most health professionals aren't necessarily comfortable calling out the opponent. So we did a study. Does it make a difference if we call out the opponent? When we use a climate health narrative like this and we add in a direct call out, calling the question, well, if these things are so good for our health, why aren't we doing them already? And the reason we're not doing them already, fossil fuel CEOs and their lobbyists and the politicians in their back pockets are stopping us from taking those actions. And this study, which was published just a few weeks ago in Lancet Planetary Health, shows really clearly that when we add this as a fourth element to our narrative, people become even more fired up, even more likely to take political action, which is exactly the action we want them to take. And as I said before, the beauty of all of this messaging research is this narrative is uniquely effective with our conservative brothers and sisters. We can preach to our liberal, progressive brothers and sisters all we want, but they're largely on board. It's still helpful to share what we know with them, but they are already doing much that they feel they're doing as much as they can. They'd like to know how to do more, and we can help them with that. But our conservative brothers and sisters, they have checked out. And this narrative that it's harming our health, taking action is good for our health in our community right away, that most of us care and more of us are taking action every day, and we are not going to let the fossil fuel industry, those CEOs and their lobbyists, stand in our way any longer. This is the story that as we tell it, the more and more we tell it, the more and more we will be building public will and political will for the kinds of actions that we need to see the leaders of the world take here at COP28 and beyond. This is why we have this is our necessary role, because climate change is the biggest public health threat that human civilization faces, but it's also a unique role. We have an opportunity to change the narrative in helpful ways that perhaps no other community has. And it's because we can make the problem personal, we can bring the benefits into the present and into people's lives, we call out the opposition, and in doing all of those things, we are depolarizing the public dialogue, the public conversation about how to move forward. So for those of you who don't yet have the report, you can use your this QR code, just point your phone at it, download the report. You've learned all of the key takeaways from me already, but it's still a great report for you all to have. So that is my message to you. Our climate, our health have a common enemy, and that common enemy is fossil fuels. Let's lean in, link arms, lean in, and stop that common enemy from doing further harm.